Good morning, all of you. Today we are going to start with the class 8 ruling the countryside chapter CBSE. In this particular chapter, we are going to know about how East India Company, the British East India Company, because there were many other East India companies that we don't know even, but they were created during the 16th and 17th century to trade to India or the eastern part of the world, because by the same time period, Columbus and rest of the people, they started moving towards the western part of the world, also Western Hemisphere. That means western part of Europe. Then the East India Company was created to have trade from Britain to India. And during that particular time period, the different ways, the different methodology that was used to control Indian territory from being a trader to become a ruler, to become the Diwan of collecting revenue of Bengal, Bihar, and Orissa, a story that we are going to study in this particular chapter. Mughal emperor, not the powerful Mughal emperor, he died. After that, the rulers all over India, those who were the Mansabdars and the small Rajas of Mughal Empire, they revolted against the Mughal emperor and they became independent. During the same time period, after 1707, the gradually different parts of India, the different new rulers, they come up. On 12th August 1765, the Mughal emperor was appointed. He appointed East India Company as the Diwan of Bengal. Being the Diwan of Bengal, the company became the chief financial administrator of the territory under its own control. The control was of whole of Bengal. Now, when I talk about Bengal, it doesn't mean that the Bengal of modern India, that means West Bengal only. I'm talking about, or we are talking about, if we are talking about the British era, we are talking about Bangladesh, we are talking about West Bengal, we are even talking about Bihar, a larger chunk of Bihar, some portion of Jharkhand, and whole of Orissa and the West Bengal as it is. This much area was under the control of the East India Company when they got Diwani of Bengal. We already have gone through this before that, the war of Buxar and Palasi, and after that, the Mughal emperor, they got the Diwani of it. Now, the next point that we are having is the revenue for the company. Now, when the company became the Diwan of Bengal, the company made effort to increase the revenue as much as it could and buy fine cotton and silk cloth as cheaply as possible. Now, becoming the Diwan, it means the company became the ruler also of Bengal. The artisans and the farmers, whatsoever the cloth they were producing or whatsoever the cotton they were producing, all these things were bought by British officials at the cheaper rate, at the cost that is least cost of the commodity. And they were also trying their best to increase the revenue of it. It means that the Britishers or the East India Company was trying to increase its revenue by asking more and more money from the citizens of Bengal. Whereas when we talk about how they were purchasing the commodity, now they were forcing the people of Bengal to decrease the price of commodity, the silk cloth or the cotton, because these were most demanded in Britain till half of 18th century. After that, many new laws were made by British government and the British Parliament to decrease the import of Indian made goods and to help the British industry. For that, they made laws and rules and regulations to restrict the import of Indian made goods. But before that, because whatsoever the commodity, whatsoever the cotton cloth, whatsoever the food items that were produced in India, they were hugely demanded in England and rest of Europe. And because of that, the revenue that the East India Company was creating just doubled within few years. Now, within 5 years of the value of goods bought by the company in Bengal just doubled. Now the revenue collected in Bengal could finance the purchase of goods and export. Bengal economy was facing a deep crisis because artisans were deserting villages since they were being forced to sell their goods to the company at low prices. Agricultural cultivation showed signs of collapse. In 1770, a terrible famine killed 10 million people in Bengal. Think about it. In 65, they got Diwan of Bengal. In 70, a famine was there. What happened during those 5 years? During those 5 years, only one thing happened, that the British East India Company, they tried their best to extract as much as revenue that can be possible from the people of Bengal. What happened? And they were not ready even to pay for whatsoever the commodity that they were trying to buy from the artisans. And because of that, in Bengal, many of the villagers, they deserted their village. They ran away from their villages, from Bengal, and they migrated to different other parts of the country in modern India. That means they moved towards the western part of United Province, they moved towards Gujarat, they moved towards South India, only because now the Britishers were targeting them to increase their revenue. And ultimately in 1770, 10 million people, they died only because of famine. That was not the natural cause. The nature was there. They are playing continuously. After 5 to 10 years, nature plays its game. But then also, the thing that the British East India Company did was a terrible thing, and because of which the famine happened in Bengal. The need to improve agriculture. When we talk about whatsoever the thing that happened in 1770, after that the British officials, they tried their best to increase as much as it can be possible the agricultural productivity. Most company officials began to feel that investment in land had to be encouraged and agriculture had to be improved. In 1793, the company finally introduced the permanent settlement. By the term of the settlement, the Rajas and Talukdars were recognized as Jamidar of the land. They were asked to collect rent from the peasants and pay revenue to company, which was fixed permanently. This would ensure a regular flow of revenue to the company, and by the time it encourages Jamidars to invest in improving the land. Now, the mindset of the Britishers was that if we are fixing the revenue that they are going to collect from the Jamidar, what will happen? The extra amount that the Jamidar can create, they will hold with them. And the company will also have a continuous flow of revenue. If in a particular Jamidari, they said it 1 lakh rupee, it means every year they can estimate that 1 lakh rupee they can continuously have. And because of that, the company officials were very happy after getting this permanent settlement. The problem, the need to improve agriculture. The Jamidars were not investing in improving the quality of the land. The reason was the Jamidars were living in a town area and the villages were deserted. The Jamidars already have their agents, those who were collecting the revenue. The revenue fixed was too high for the Jamidars because the Jamidars were not investing any amount in the land. Because of that, the productivity was continuously low, whereas the revenue was fixed at a high level. And because of that, the gap was there. As long as the Jamidars could earn by giving out their land to tenants, they were not interested in improving the land. On the other hand, in the villages, the cultivator found the system extremely oppressive. Now, this oppression was by the Jamidar and Raja of Indian origin. It wasn't the Britishers. And because of that, many of the cultivators, they started deserting their land. A new system is to be devised. Now, the Britishers, they thought of that there must be a new system with the help of which they can devise the system how to increase more revenue. By the early 19th century, many of the company officials were convinced that the system of revenue had to be changed again to meet the growing expenses. And because of that, they searched for a new system of revenue collection. The new system was MAHALWARI system. The collectors went from village to village to estimate the land revenue that each village or mahal had to pay. Now, when we are talking about the collectors, it means the individuals, they moved to another. Each and every village, each and every land was surveyed by these individuals. And then they said, you being this particular village area, the headman of this village, he will bound to collect the revenue from that village, and then the revenue is to be submitted to the exchequer, that means to the company. The collector went from village to estimate the land revenue that each village or mahal had to pay. The charge of collecting the revenue and paying it to the company was given to the village headman rather than the jamidar. This system came to be known as the MAHALWARI settlement. Now this system, because this is now the mahal, the village that is now responsible for supplying the revenue to the company. The headman was whole and sole responsible. The next system, a new system was also devised in South India, and that was known as the Munro system or RYOTWARI system. The new system that was devised came to be known as RYOTWAR or RYOTWARI. It was tried on a small scale by Captain Alexander Reed. It was subsequently developed by Thomas Munro, which was gradually extended all over South India. Now this was a system where Rayat, each individual was responsible. Now in this case also the survey was done. How much the revenue can be collected from a piece of land, that was set by the British official, and after that the owner of that particular land was said that you have to pay this much of revenue every year. And this is known to be as the Munro system of revenue collection or RYOTWARI system of revenue collection. Now, who was Thomas Munro? He was the governor of Madras from 1819 to 1826. Sir Thomas Munro, first born at KCB, 27th May 1761, 6 July 1827, was a Scottish soldier and colonial administrator. He was an East India Company army officer and a very great statesman, as the RYOTWARI system was implemented by him all over the South India, and to a larger extent this was a very successful way of collecting revenue by the British East India Company. The RYOTWARI system, and it was also having certain amount of problem. The settlement had to be made directly with the cultivator who had tilled the land for generations. Now British should act as a paternal father figure, protecting the ryots under their charge. This was supposed that the British official, they must be the father or fatherly figure for these ryots, whosoever came under their charge. But to increase the income of the land, revenue officials again fixed the revenue too high. And when peasants were unable to pay, ryots or the peasants, they fled the countryside, and villages and the villages, they became deserted in many regions. Natural, the same problem that they started with Jamindari, that was with RYOTWARI also. That means the land revenue was very high. And the people, the common people of India, the ryots, as per them, they were unable to pay the revenue. And because of that, they started leaving their villages from wherever they were living, because they were unable to pay the revenue, land revenue, to the British officials. Not only this, the crops for Europe, even in India, many type of crops were grown for Europe, either for commercial or for food products. Like jute is produced in Bengal, tea was in Assam, sugarcane in United Province, that is now the Uttar Pradesh is there, then wheat in Punjab, cotton in Maharashtra and Punjab, rice in Madras. The British used a variety of methods for increasing cultivation of crop that they needed. One such crop was indigo, which had a great worldwide demand. Now, British persuaded, forced and lured the cultivators to produce whatsoever the commercial crops that were demanded in Europe, like jute in Bengal, tea from Assam, sugarcane from United Province, wheat from Punjab, cotton from Maharashtra and Punjab, rice from Madras, and all these commodities that the Britishers, they purchase and they get it away to Britain. One such crop was also, that is not written there, was indigo. Initially, indigo was introduced in Bengal and wherever the East India Company was having their control. And later on, after indigo rebellion, they moved towards Bihar. But initially it was Bengal and Orissa where indigo planters, indigo cultivation was done. Now the question arises, why the demand for Indian indigo? By the 13th century, Indian indigo was being used for cloth manufacturers in Italy, France and Britain to dye their cloth. Now think about, I'm talking about 13th century. At that particular time period, the trade route was from India to Arabia, from Arabian, that means Iraq, Iran, and these area towards Constantinople, and then it moves towards Europe. That means the land route was there. Once that land route was captured by Ottoman Empire, they started searching for new routes. And in the meantime period, in Europe, the industrial revolution started, Renaissance was there, and because of that, these people started moving from that area to the different regions of the world through sea route. But the price of indigo was very high. That means the cloth manufacturers, they were using Italy, Italian, France, and Britain, they were using Indian indigo. European cloth manufacturers, therefore, had to depend on another plant called wood to make violet. Therefore, cloth dyers, however, preferred indigo as a dye. The French began cultivating indigo in San Domingo, in the Caribbean island, and Portuguese in Brazil, the English in Jamaica, and the Spanish in Venezuela. Between 1783 and 1789, the production of indigo in the world fell by half. Cloth dyers in Britain started looking for new sources of indigo supply. Till 1789, India was not the center of indigo. But then again, what happened? Because everywhere, because of the problem of climate, you see, either the Caribbean or the Brazil or the Venezuela, they all are near to equator. The production for indigo needs a particular type of environment. Total ecology must have humidity, temperature, everything must be at that particular thing. And because of that, these were the areas. Whatsoever the commodity like wood, they were produced in Europe, and they were not of very good quality. Because of that, the British producers, they always prefer Indian indigo. Now, Britishers, they started looking for new source of indigo supply. And where they found? They found to a new place. Britain turns to India. The company in India looked for ways to expand the area under indigo cultivation. By 1810, 95% of the indigo imported into Britain was from India. You see, till 1793, these were produced in somewhere else. Now, by 1810, within 20 years, 95% of the indigo imported into Britain was from India. Many company officials left their job, and numerous Scotsmen and Englishmen came to India and became planters, attracted by the prospect of high profit. The profit was in such a huge amount that even the company officials, those who were getting better amount of income, but they also left their job, because the profit in being the planter of indigo was very high. Because of that, they left all these different types of job and they became the planters of indigo. Now you can see how was indigo cultivated. There are two systems of indigo cultivation, Nij and Ryoti. Ryoti, you already know RYOTWARI system through which the cultivation can be done. Another one is Nij. That means I owe the land also, I am the planter also, I owe the land and I am producing the commodity. There is two pictures that are given there. You can compare, one is a chart, another one is pictures. By the process, you can understand how the total indigo cultivation is completed. Niche cultivation and their problem. The planters produced indigo in land that he directly controlled. The planters found it difficult to expand the area under niche cultivation. Indigo could be cultivated only on fertile land which were all already densely populated. Now, these are the three important points that you must understand. The planters found it difficult to expand the area under niche cultivation because the indigo must be cultivated on the best land that the person is having or available to him. And plantation or the planters wanted that these indigo must be planted in that particular land. And after that, you can see after the cultivation of indigo, it was very difficult to produce again rice or wheat. That means once you started producing indigo, you will face the problem of all these type of. Because of that, a large plantation required large number of labor. The laborers were also not available. Why? Because they were usually busy during the same time period for rice cultivation. It also required mini plow and bullocks, because at that particular time period, the modern method of agriculture was not available. Because of that, the plow, bullocks, everything was required. And all these things were already used by Indian farmers in their rice cultivation. And because of that, these things were very difficult. Till the late 19th century, planters were therefore reluctant to expand the area under niche cultivation. Because of that, the planters were not ready to increase niche cultivation area. Indigo on the land of RYOTS. You already know about RYOTWARI system. In RYOTWARI system, the RYOTS were responsible to collect their own revenue and give it to the village headman. Under the ryoti system, the planters pressurized the village headman to sign the contract on behalf of all the ryots under his control. Those who signed the contract got cash advances from the planters at a low rate of interest to produce indigo. Now, how the businessmen do their business? They first said, put your signature on the piece of paper. Once they put it, they said you get this loan. Now, this money is given to you as a loan. And what you have to do, on 25% of your land area, you must put the production of indigo. But the ryot had to cultivate indigo on at least 25% of the area under his holding. And whatsoever the money that was given to him was a loan. It was an advance loan at a very low rate of interest. It means if crop failed, then they have to pay money. Not only that, when the crop was delivered to the planter after the harvest, a new loan was given to the ryot, and the cycle started all over again. The price provided to the peasants for indigo they produced was very low, and the cycle of loan never ended. You produce the indigo. After that, you give that to the planter. He just collected the indigo, he collected his money, and he again gave you certain amount of advance. Okay, please, sir, you increase land area from 25 to 50%. We are ready to give you more. And in the meantime period, the British government was pressurizing the ryot to give more and more revenue. And they were continuously increasing the revenue. Because of that, the Indian ryots, they were pressurized to go for this system. Indigo also exhausts the soil rapidly. Here, when we are talking about exhaust, it means the fertility of soil very rapidly goes down. After an indigo harvest, the land could not be sown with rice. Once the indigo is done, nearly 5 to 10 years, the productivity never increases. It's always going to be, the fertility is always a low. The next is the Blue Rebellion. This is the last topic. The Blue Rebellion, you can see this one also. Indigo factory is there, where dyeing and coloring and everything is done. Once, it doesn't mean the dyeing of the cloth. It means the indigo planters, they took out, then they put that one in a one part, then it is beaten rapidly, and you can see the extraction of indigo from the indigo plant is done, and ultimately at the end of it, you can see a factory is there. There it is dried upon, then packed and sent to Britain for the use by the British industries. The last one is the Blue Rebellion. And after, in 1859, the indigo ryots felt that they had the support of local jamidar and the village headmen in their rebellion against the planters. As the rebellion spread, intellectuals rushed to the indigo districts and wrote of the misery of the ryot and tyranny of the planters and the horrors of the indigo system. In 1859, this ryot, after getting a support from the local jamidar and the village headmen, they rebelled against the planters. They were also not ready. Nobody was ready, because this type of system, the pressure and whenever, whatsoever the amount that was given to them, the people were unable to repay. And also they were finding it out very difficult that they were unable to get food items, because once the indigo plantation is done, they were unable to grow wheat or rice or whatsoever. Because of that, the people, they were feeling very, they were having hatred against the Britishers, against the planters. Once the rebellion spread, the intellectuals, the people, those who were writing notes and everything in the paper, they started talking about the misery of the ryot. and the tyranny, the way the planters they worked, and ultimately the total horror of indigo system was in front of everyone. The government ultimately set up indigo commission to inquire into the system of indigo plant production. The commission held the planters guilty and criticized them for the coercive method they used with indigo cultivators. After the revolt, indigo production now shifted their operation to Bihar, and later on in the class 10th, we will see this one also, that Mahatma Gandhi, after coming to India, he visited in 1917 to Champaran, and where he started a movement against the indigo planters. We can, in a way, we can say, being the blue, being the indigo, it changed the whole of India. It started the non-cooperation, non-violent, civil disobedience, and rest many other things in India. That means we owe also to indigo our freedom and our rights. Thanks for watching my channel. We will meet in the next video, and if you have any question, please comment and please subscribe my channel. Do like my channel, do share my channel. Thank you all of you. Thank you folks. Bye.